If I knew this is what I would 100% want to go into when I was 18, I probably wouldn't have done zoology. So, I mean, for embryology specifically, I think lab skills are super important, but it's just as much as it is lab skills, is people skills. The phone's never not going to ring. The phone will always ring. You just get a varying amount of time from 30 seconds to 5 minutes before it rings again. I've never ever seen a job advert that's looking for embryology graduates that you're going straight into the lab. That's just not something that happens. My advice would be
Welcome everyone to the very first episode of Let's Talk Embryology. I actually wanted to start this for a really long time, but for one reason or another, it kept on pushing back. But here we are, and it's finally happening. So, the idea of this podcast is very simple. We are going to listen to people working in this field in the world of embryology, or IVF, as more people know it commonly. They would be embryologists, nurses, doctors, lab staff, admins, basically everyone who plays a role in this field. We'll hear more about their journey, their experiences, how they got into this field, what their work actually looks like day to day, and all the things no one really talks about. To be honest, a big reason I wanted to do this is because I wanted to learn all of these things from different people working in this field, and I thought, why not start or turn this into a podcast so we all can learn together. And just so you know a little about me, I am Devesh. I'm a trainee embryologist at a fertility clinic, currently working and training on lab procedures in the lab. So this podcast is my way of learning from people across the field and sharing those conversations with you. So for our first episode, I'm really excited to welcome Aimee. She works as a lab admin at fertility clinic and has recently started her training in Embryology lab. This episode is especially important for anyone thinking about getting into the world of embryology or IVF lab, because Aimee is going to share how she found her way into such a competitive field and what that process actually looked like for her. So yeah, definitely stick around until the end. I'm your host Devesh, and let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Let's Talk Embryology. We have our very first guest, Aimee, on our first episode. So, how does it feel to be the first guest, Aimee, on
I'm
this podcast?
very honored, very excited. I think this is going to be a great thing to do and great
Uh-huh.
for everyone in the embryology world to kind of get a glimpse into what it's like in like embryology and to work in a clinic. I think it's great.
Perfect, perfect. I think you are the perfect guest for the first one, since you are in a very early stage of your career, and this feels like the first episode should be something which introduces the new aspirants of in embryology to someone like you who would be able to give them a bit more advice on how to progress in this career. So tell me, Amy, how has been your journey so far?
So I think my journey per se, it kind of started back in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
I think common journey. I don't think I've done anything different or anything too crazy from the rest of what I would probably say my cohort is like
Mm-hmm.
a career. Um, yeah, I think it's quite a niche subject and quite a niche job to want to go into. So I think it's you kind of fall into it when you first discover it, and then you're kind of like tunnel vision to
Yeah.
get to embryology, which I think is it goes for a lot of people. So yeah, I mean, quite a common journey. I kind of went to uni at
Mm-hmm.
Sussex, did my undergrad in zoology,
Mm-hmm.
not embryology, but zoology.
Yeah.
Um, then took a gap year, tried to figure out what I wanted to do, and then did my master's once I had figured it out.
Nice. Interesting. Yeah.
that so yeah, I mean, you kind of pick up bits and pieces of embryology as you go through, especially in your undergrad. Some subjects kind of touch on it, but it's never going to be in depth until you really get to your master's, and then that's when you fall in love,
Mm-hmm.
basically. My kind of like perspective
Mm-hmm.
on the learning. But yeah.
Right. And did you always wanted to do embryology, or what made you choose embryology apart from all the biology or life sciences fields?
Of course. So no, I didn't.
Mhm.
So yeah, Sussex. I I didn't really know at all what I wanted to do. I started doing medical neuroscience, hated it, could not stand it at all, and then switched to zoology. And then within zoology, in my second year, we
Mhm.
did a module, developmental biology, which kind of touched a little bit on embryology, but not anything in depth of what we would do in a master's.
Right.
And then at a very similar time, unfortunately, my friend, she got diagnosed with cancer. She
Okay.
frees her eggs. And then her watching her go through that process was like, okay, that's the sort of career I want to go into. That's my vocation, as you
Right.
will. And that was that. I think everything from that point on. So that was December 2021. From then, every kind of career move and everything that I did was purely to do embryology. So I did my final year project in developmental biology because I didn't have an embryology project that I could choose. So I kind of chose one that was the closest I could get.
Hmm.
And I took a gap year, but within my gap year, I worked in an NHS hospital in pharmacy because I was like, I have no patient facing experience.
Hmm.
Let me get that under my belt in this year off. Did a little bit of traveling as well, which was great. And then started applying for masters and was very lucky and got in. So I think you kind of, when things like that happen, it kind of like pushes you down a road. I originally wanted to go into conservation, hence
Okay.
the, and that just got completely written off in 2021.
Hmm.
That, and yeah, here I am.
Interesting. So a lot of aspects which made you choose embryology, definitely. Different
Yeah,
experiences and different academical side as well.
yeah, it was very much,
Interesting. Yeah.
so many things happened in such a short space of time that it
Hmm.
was like, this is perfect for you. Like, go for this. And I mean, it worked out great for me. And my friend is absolutely okay, just in case anybody was wondering. She's fully
That's
remission,
good. That's good. Yeah.
4-year anniversary remission this year.
Hmm.
So,
That's good. Interesting.
mm,
And I'm also sure that there must be students or in undergraduate maybe, or who are currently doing masters or even somewhere in between, and they want to get into this field. So how would you recommend these students, or what were your criteria of choosing an university for your master's? Because there are numerous universities in the UK itself and in and around London
yeah.
which offer similar courses in embryology. So what should one look at
Mhm.
the course to for them to choose the course? So what was your criteria?
Well, so obviously for my undergrad, I didn't know this was going to be my job or what
Hmm.
I want. And I think that would go for a lot of people. I think it would be quite hard to find an 18-year-old that has been exposed to embryology, apart from if they've had family members or something go through. So I wouldn't focus too much on undergrad.
Uh-huh.
It's undergrad is kind of a stepping stone to get to the next place. So as long as your undergrad has lab like experience, and unfortunately I was the COVID cohort, so I had limited, but I got as much as I possibly could as soon as the universities opened back up. But I think that's a main thing. Lab experience is good of any kind. If you can get cell culture lab experience, even better. But just to be exposed to the lab, I think it's an environment that
Uh-huh.
is quite any other teaching setting. So it's crucial that you have that. But then masters in my circumstances. So I live in London. Um, and I just applied. I'm not gonna lie, I applied for them all.
Mhm.
Everything that was in a reasonable distance, because masters as well is it's quite complicated with like the finances, because you don't get as big as a student loan and you are quite dependent on your situation, your family situation, and where you can stay and live and all.
Mhm.
So I applied for them all. I got into St. George's, and then I got into Imperial as well.
Okay.
So comparing the two, I kind of thought Imperial would probably have a little bit more weight behind it,
Mhm.
uh, and just went straight for that one. I think I applied for it straight after my undergrad, but I didn't. It was a weird. I don't think this is the most orthodox way to get into a master's, but I was emailing with one of the course leads a lot because there was somebody dropped out and I didn't get in originally, but then somebody dropped out and then they were like, "Oh, we have a place for you. Can you come?" But then they were halfway through the semester and I was like, I didn't want my experience to be tainted by being half a semester behind.
Right.
So I asked very kindly if they could hold my position, and that's why I also got my gap year and went straight in for the next year and already had my place kind of sorted. So
Right.
I think my advice would be for people applying for masters at the minute, email the course leads. They are so lovely, most of them, in my experience, so lovely, and they will help you and try to make it work for you. So, and then obviously that as well it sold me on Imperial, because I was like, if I'm not even there yet and they are being so lovely to me, 100% go for that. And it was a really interesting course.
Mhm.
I would say it was very theoretical and very um maybe not as applicable in day-to-day embryology life,
Mhm.
but so interesting. And just to get like all that background information is really cool, and it really like developed my love for the subject and the career.
Right. I think that's a very interesting point that you just made, that a lot of times we just rely on the applications through the portal or through the university websites, but we never consider emailing the professors or someone working at the university and asking for a place directly. But in your case, it's been a perfect example that there is other way of applying to university as well. Not necessarily every time it will work, but essentially you have that chance. And if it's a no, it's a no. But it there might be a yes as well. So I think that's a good point that you just made.
I think if you get rejected, which is okay to get rejected, it's not.
Hmm.
I got rejected from UCL as well, I think, but it happens. Like you get rejected, but email, ask why, ask for like follow up or like feedback.
Hmm.
And a lot of the time they would say, like in my case, the course was full, and then it's
Right.
like, oh, I have a place. So do you want to? But obviously, I didn't want to go for that year for my own detriment. But it then it's good to have that dialogue already kind of set up with them before you even get there. And if not, it's a Hail Mary. You might not get in, but you'll get some valuable feedback. And if you need to apply for the next year, apply for the next year, build on your skills that they said that you were lacking in, and apply for the following year. It's very much persistence, I think, in this kind of career. You have to just keep going and pushing and building and bettering yourself and like your CV and your skills and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if it's a no, it's a no, but at least you have to try to get
Yeah,
somewhere. So definitely, it's a really good point. And
demand.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah, and a lot of times when someone's studying their master's course, since it's usually 1 year course here in the UK, before we even start, or somewhere in the middle of our semester, so somewhere in the middle of the year, we start thinking about what next. Now, the once this course is over, we need to find a job. And it's not like other popular fields like finance, you have multiple vacancies. So how did you manage to find a job for you in a fertility clinic? Do you think there were any limitations in your search, or what were the challenges?
So I mean, the challenges very much, they are very few and far between. There are so many, they're minimal job adverts for entry level positions into a fertility clinic. And I think you have to start as early as you can. I think I started my master's in September 2023, and I started looking for jobs in January 2024, just like sending CVs out, stuff like that. And most of the time you're not going to hear back. That is just case in point, you won't hear back. And I think I found the job advert, so my journey's a little bit different. I started in admin first, and I found the job role for admin. And I think it's a little bit of luck. Genuinely, it's a little bit of luck that you find the job advert, because they go so quick anyway. Because if you think about it, in London, there's like 3 or 4 universities that offer the sort of courses, embryology, like oriented courses. That's you're going up against like 100 to 200 people all looking for the same jobs. So it a lot of the time. And I think, yeah, my only advice is to start early and to manage your expectations that you're not going to get into the lab straight away. I've never ever seen a job advert that's looking for embryology graduates that you're going straight into the lab. That's just not something that happens. You have to work your way up, and you have to kind of pay your dues a little bit. But it's good and can be frustrating, because you obviously go do your masters, you have all of this experience, all this lab experience, and you know your stuff, but you've never applied it in a clinical setting. And you have to kind of take a step back and say, no, I can't be dealing with patients clinically in a lab yet. I don't even know the patient pathway. I don't even know how a clinic functions. So that would be my advice as well, because it is frustrating, but just manage your expectations. Start in admin, because it's great. Start in admin. Do 6 months to a year in admin, and then move forward, because you gain so much as well from that. And the only advice I would say is, if that is the way to go, like in most cases it is, from people in like my cohort, I know that's what people are doing. Just make sure that the clinic is aware that you want to progress and you want to go to the lab. So it's kind of a fine balance of do the job, do it well, do like admin great, but also make sure that your seniors are aware this isn't what you want to do. This is what you're doing, to pave the way for you to then move on into the lab, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
makes sense. Otherwise, it's difficult. If
Yeah.
people don't know, it's difficult for you to progress, isn't it? You should be open, and you should just tell everyone and just announce literally that that's what you want to do.
Yeah. Yeah. 9 times out of 10
Mm-hmm.
will be very happy that you want to start from, I'm not going to call it the bottom, because it's not the bottom, but like you'll start from like ages away from the lab, and you're happy to dedicate your time to the company, to the trust wherever you work, to like the clinic, that you're here for the long run. You want to learn every aspect and move forward rather than jumping. So I think that's quite important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how was your experience as an admin? What kind of responsibilities did you have?
Cool. So you learn a lot, I think, in admin. Probably I was there for 6 months, and it was probably the biggest learning curve of like any sort of career job that I've had. previously. They throw you in the deep end, and as it should be. You need to know how to talk to patients. You need to know the patient pathway. It's such a big thing to patients of how they progress from their initial consultation to their egg collection. And I think if you didn't work in an admin role, you don't know that. And it can then be quite like awkward talking to patients when they're like, well, what are my next steps? And you have to say, I don't actually know, because I don't know
Right.
what your pathway is. But being in admin for 6 months, I know the pathway like the back of my hand. You do it every day. You speak to so many people, and it's good because you learn how to handle uncomfortable interactions. Because unfortunately, when you're in a patient-facing role or a customer-facing role, there's going to be uncomfortable interactions for both you and for the patient, and you have to navigate that. So I think doing it in admin, where like your first time navigating them situations in admin, where it's not as critical because you're booking an appointment. It's not like life or death, or like something's going wrong with their treatment plan, like something like that. What the lab might have to handle patients being uncomfortable because their cycle hasn't worked out exactly how they've wanted. Maybe you just don't have the appointment time that they want. That's not as critical, but it's a baby step to having the more uncomfortable conversations later on. So I think it was very good for me to kind of do that. And also it's great to like have them sort of good relationships with the admin team, because I'm still like very close with the admin team. And it's just nice to have that relationship with them. So if anything was to go wrong admin wise, straight on the phone, please help, because I don't know how this has happened, but it needs to be corrected because now we're the day before egg collection and things need to change or something like that. So it's good to have that sort of clinic wide relationship with all the teams, because you work with everyone. So it's good to make your way through so that you pass, like you go through everyone, you know everyone, and it's just really good.
Right. Interesting. Lot of things to take into account before starting the job as well, and on the job as well now.
Yeah.
And uh, now that you have moved into lab admin after your general admin, how does that work for you? How does that feel to you?
It so nothing against admin. Obviously, it's just not the career that I wanted. It's quite refreshing being lab admin because you are more embryology focused. Everything you do is to do with the lab or like surrounding lab things. It's just it's like embryology is like just in your touch. Like you're not doing anything. You're not a person of responsibility. So you're not touching anything. You're not touching samples or embryos or anything like that, but you're seeing them. And just being in that proximity, it kind of reignites like the passion of embryology. Because I think so my journey has been what we're going on my like 5th year now, 2021 to now. That's 5 years, and I'm lab admin. So you do go through like peaks and troughs, and I think moving from admin to lab admin, you kind of then be like, oh, okay, no, I remember now. Like this isn't like that's not what I want to do. This is what I want to do. This is why I did my 6-month year in admin. This is the reason, because this is really cool. So I'm like seeing it, working with the embryologist. It's a massive learning opportunity. Like ask every question, all the questions, just ask everything. Because the embryologists love that as well. So they love to see that you're like super interested and like you're taking note of
Right.
different so I just think it's a really great time for me because I get to reflect on a lot of things as well, because I'm not in like the hustle bustle of the lab all the time. So I get to do my time in the lab witnessing, or I don't know, doing whatever I do, mostly witnessing in the lab now. But I kind of get to a lot of reflection. So like when I first went in there, the one thing that I noticed was how the embryologists would carry the embryoscope slides and like the dishes, and it is so purposeful. And like obviously because you never want to drop one, but like it's just something that I is probably not written down in an SOP somewhere, but it's just that everyone will scoop it up, hold it with both hands, and like kind of like hold it so close to them and just be really meaningful with their movements. And I was just kind of in awe. And that was day one. And I was just like, you guys are so cool. like it was really, it's a really great time. And again, you're learning how embryologists grade embryos, and without actually like doing it yourself, you're learning the terminology, which I think is important and something that most masters I don't think would give you. That this is now the time that you're picking up on that as well.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The one I relate to it as well. The one that you said just now, carrying the dish everywhere. You have to be just so sensitive and just careful of all your surrounding because it's such an sensitive thing in your hand.
Yeah.
It's a very crucial. I think procedures are also the important part of the lab as well. But after procedure and just moving the cells around, moving the eggs around, it's so critical for you to be
It's
mindful of all your surroundings.
it's such a small thing because it's something that people don't ever think about, like just moving a dish from A to B. But it's just with the care and the precision that everyone was doing it with, I was just kind of like, oh, okay, it's a whole different world as soon as you step into the lab. It's nothing like I've ever seen before. Like in a teaching lab, like as I've said, you need experience in that, but it's like it's a different level. And it should be. It's a very serious and a very crucial and sensitive thing for every patient, and every patient's journey is different. So it's very important. But I just,
Mm.
yeah, that I think on day one I was just like, well, like this is just interesting to see how they move.
Right. But
Yeah.
having said that, huge congratulations to you as you have moved to your next part of your career of moving into andrology lab now and starting your training as well as working as a lab admin at the same time. So how are you finding this transition now? You have worked as admin in lab and also the general clinic admin, and now you have moved into a clinical role which involves more practical hands-on training. So how has this transition been to you now?
Um. So again, I feel like every time you make a little jump, a little step forward, it is it does reignite everything. You're like, oh my gosh, this is the next big thing. This is amazing. I can do this every day for the rest of my life. And oh my gosh, but there's still always more steps to go. And that's always in the back of my mind. But doing my first semen analysis, I was like, well, I'm like the bee's knees now. I know what I'm doing. Obviously, I need like practice, but it was just like, I feel more, it's like you're reaching different milestones, and it's just another like breath of fresh air. It's like, okay, my work in admin paid off. It got me to lab admin. My work in lab admin paid off. It's getting me to here. And I'm very, very early in my like andrology training. I've only really been doing it since maybe mid-January, so a month maybe. And we obviously there's a team of us and we're all training, so it's not like we get a long time in the lab per week or in andrology per week, but you just to go in there for a day, half a day, it's so good. It's challenging, I think, because you obviously you know what a semen analysis is, you know theoretically how to do it, but like sitting down looking into a microscope and actually doing it, it's quite challenging because you know that it's going to, your like outcomes could impact somebody's treatment cycle. And obviously not for me right now because I'm in training because I'm not signed off yet. But if it's a poor sample, that's going to have an impact on their treatment cycle. And I think the first couple of days, whenever I did get a poorer sample, I was kind of like, oh, like that's somebody's going to have to find out that they have a poorer sample, and that's going to have an impact on someone's life. And I think I found it quite hard to kind of like step back from it because you have to be kind of separated from the situation. But of course, I mean, that's why the clinic exists and why people come to the clinic, because they have these issues. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, have you ever like felt that you get like a bit like not emotional, but you have to be separated from like the sample and like the person that it is?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of times what happens is when you're analyzing the sample, it it depends on, I don't know if it depends on the mood
Mm.
that you are in. There are
Mm.
certain aspects of the sample that you analyze that could influence the entire treatment plan, like you said.
Yeah.
But it's the analysis itself is very subjective, like normal forms, if you say. It's very subjective. Each person will see normal forms of the sample in a different way. So the percentage might change. And then the treatment itself changes. But to me personally, I don't think I have felt the connection because you don't see the patient, you just
That
get the sample. So I don't think I've felt that connection that you have to be
mm,
connected, or you have any kind of influence of the patient on your analysis because you don't see the patient, you don't know the patient personally. So
yeah.
yeah, I think that's just my opinion on that.
It's very interesting that you point out that it is very subjective because I couldn't agree more, because it is very much,
Yeah,
especially if you're counting 100, 200 individual like sperm, you might count one or two more normal formed or like normal morphology sperms more than me. But that's just because you counted out of the millions that are in there, two more. And I just think, yeah, I don't know, how did you kind of overcome this subject? How do you find the confidence in yourself to be like, yeah, no, 100%, I'm happy with that? Because that's kind of what I'm struggling with at the moment, where because I'm so new, it's trusting yourself as well, because it is subjective and you do have to kind of have a feel for what is, you kind of, I know a lot of like people in andrology at the moment are saying you kind of get a feel for what the sample will be as soon as you look at it. So how did you kind of get to that point where you could kind of like trust your instinct straight away?
yeah, I think that's the right point that you just heard from everyone else, that as you practice more and more samples,
Mm.
you you get the gist, or you see the picture in your mind itself before seeing the actual sample, how it should
Yeah.
look like to classify it as an IVF sample or an ICSI sample. The
Mm.
more practice you do with more samples, you get more used to it. And even though you are now used to it, you're signed off and you can do them confidently on your own, there'll be a lot of times when you would get some different results, which means a different treatment. But some other embryologists will get different results, which will mean complete opposite treatment. So as long as you both of you agree at the end of the day that this sample belongs to this IVF or this ICSI treatment, or you can get a third embryologist and get their opinion as well.
Yeah.
As long as you all agree to the same part of the treatment, I think that's what really matters at the end of the day. Sample can be different. Everyone can see it as a different normal form or as a different motility. But as long as you all agree in the
Mm.
end that this patient will have
Yeah.
IVF or ICSI, then I think
Yeah.
that's what really matters.
Yeah. I think that's what's kind of cool about the clinic as well. It's very much team. And I like now that I'm in andrology, I do kind of feel even more part of the lab team rather than lab admin team. I do feel more lab based, lab team, because it is cool to see compare my results to say your results or another andrologist's results. It is good to have that like kind of support system in place.
Right. So another question I had about the admin roles to you is that since you have worked as a general admin and a lab admin, which role would you say that you enjoyed the most?
100% lab admin.
Mhm.
Uh,
And why
no,
is that?
I mean no offense to the
Of
ad
course.
team, but it is 100% more focused and closer to embryology and what you want to do and what the majority of people that are probably listening want to do. And it's just you learn a lot more things that are embryology applicable, and you're within the team and you're getting your footing within the team as well, and you just you take on different responsibilities as well in lab admin that are very different from admin. So admin's quite, it's very structured in a way that is everyone does everything, whereas lab admin you can't quite do that because it's just too much to kind of like push around. So we have like kind of like our specialties, if you will, in lab admin. So somebody has like PGT as their specialty, and my specialty is donor sperm, which has been good, and I've learned a lot. And I think I've definitely pulled on some of the skills I've learned in admin to be able to do it. It is quite hard to do and to kind of be the point of contact for patients coming through that need donor sperm, but it's challenging, and it's a good challenging because it pushes you to do more and learn more. And yeah, I think 100% lab admin
Mhm.
is my favorite so far. But yeah, I think it's difficult because they are quite different. Things that you do in admin, you don't really do in lab admin. So
Right.
they're very comparable, but lab admin, my favorite, 100%.
Right. But I also do believe that each role has different challenges of its own. So if you have to tell whoever's listening one challenge of each role, let's say general admin, one challenge, and lab admin, one challenge. Challenge as in the difficult part of the job that you have to deal with. So whoever's thinking of getting into any of the roles are
Mm-hmm.
aware of these important challenges. So what would you say about general admin and the lab admin part?
So general admin, you have to kind of it's very quick. You'll be on the phone to a patient for 10 minutes talking. Could be a very difficult conversation. They could have had a really bad outcome, and you kind of have to shift your nature to kind of suit that. But then that conversation ends, you put the phone down. You have a 30-second break. The phone goes again, you pick it up. Oh my God, yay, someone's pregnant. And you have to be able to switch very quickly and kind of switch your temperament so that it matches what the patient is like going through at the time. Because you can't be all happy and joyous when someone is having a bad outcome. You have to be
Right.
understanding and considerate. And then when somebody is happy, you have to be happy too, or like not act happy, but you're happy for them. So you do get a bit frazzled sometimes because you are going from very highs to very lows and everywhere in between. You can get really bad interaction. People can shout at you, and then you have to put the phone down and pick it up in the next 2 minutes and be back to base. That I found very challenging because you can't, you're never not, the phone's never not going to ring. The phone will always ring. You just get a varying amount of time from 30 seconds to 5 minutes before it rings again. Then you kind of have to reset yourself within that time. So that is the most
Mhm.
challenging part of admin, because every point of contact is through admin at the end of the day. So you get everything. Lab admin, I think the most challenging is kind of like the learning curve. The learning curve, I think, is quite steep because every patient is different. Every journey has been different. And we do a lot of setting patients up. So everyone's history is different. And you kind of have to learn how to pick out what the embryologist needs to know. And it's kind of like piecing together a bit of a puzzle so that everything is there for the embryologist in black and white. That's what they've been through. This is what applies to this current cycle. And a lot of the time you do end up missing things, but then that's the whole point. You're learning. And like, I think I was quite harsh on myself at the beginning if I missed something, because you eventually, all lab admins, they get the paperwork goes through the lab and then it makes its way back out to us. So we can see what things have been corrected or like taken off. You can see what the embryologists actually require. So that was a bit of a learning curve, and it is quite a steep curve. And yeah, I mean, when you're working in a small team, it's a lot. It's a lot to do in quite a small space of time. We every single treatment cycle that goes through the lab, we set it up and we input it. So that is like, that's a lot. And if you think how many cycles we do in a year, that's a lot of paperwork that we go through and we check and we input and we scan, and it is quite a big workload on top of our like specialties as well. But it's so interesting, and the days go so quick because you can be in like a notes that are, I don't know, like 50 eggs. Every egg needs to be inputted individually. That might take you an hour or so, but it's interesting to see the progression. So the workload is challenging, but it's good, if
Mhm.
that makes.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think that's the difference. I think admin's quite, you never know what you're going to walk into. Lab admin, you know what you're going to walk into, just quite a lot.
right. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting. Both roles have different perspectives, both different kind of things that you do, of course. Interesting.
Yeah.
And now that you have started your lab journey, the actual hands-on training as well, out of all the procedures that you know in the lab, which one do you think is the most interesting? Which one do you find most fascinating and why?
I think, I mean, for me, I think for most people, the obvious answer is biopsy because it's the newest. It's like new kid on the block. It's everyone's now doing it. And when I say biopsy, I mean PGT testing, um, where you take a small sample of the cells from the trophectoderm and they then get sent off and get tested for euploidy, aneuploidy, the number of chromosomes. And that's the most obvious answer. And that is pretty interesting. And that is really cool. And obviously, it's up there. But for me, honestly, I think it's egg collection.
Okay.
It's kind of where everything starts. It's it's you and like the doctor, and you're communicating, and you are looking through like follicular fluid to like see, and you're trying to find like these little nuggets of just like hope for the patient. I just think that's so cool, and that is the starting point. That's like the jumping point for the rest of their treatment. The eggs are just where it all starts, and like obviously sperm is just as important, but it's without the eggs there's no point in having the sperm. I mean, same vice versa, but just the eggs are so much more like sensitive and like crucial and just I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think egg collection is probably the
Mhm.
thing that I'm for. Um so yeah, hopefully that'll be not soon, but in the next couple years. I'm very excited to do that.
Interesting. Yeah, makes sense.
What about
And
you? Particular?
um, I think ICSI is the most interesting for me because it's such a precision involved work, and you actually have an egg and using a needle, which is such a tiny. I don't exactly know what's the length and what's the thickness of it, but it's such a tiny needle, and using that needle with such a precision, you put its sperm directly inside the egg. I think that's the most fascinating um, procedure for me. Of course, I don't do that yet because I'm not trained on that, but just looking at someone doing an ICSI procedure, and
Yeah.
also because the sperms are moving everywhere, you have to pick a sperm and then hold that sperm and then put it inside. I think that's the most interesting part. But apart from that, I do love doing egg collections, like you said.
Yeah.
The fascinating part is the ICSI, but the actual work doing on is the egg collection. That
Mhm.
might change later on, but at this moment, egg collection is my favorite thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I mean, it's what I'm for, so yeah, I'm I totally agree. And ICSI is just it's I'd love to get inside an embryologist's head and be like, why did you choose that one? Like why did you choose that particular sperm? Like why obviously there's probably a million reasons. Like motility, normal form, everything. But why that one
Hmm.
is there like a gut instinct? I don't know, but I just think, yeah, I agree. That's a very cool procedure.
Yeah. And do you see yourself working in the lab going forward, or are you thinking of doing a PhD and moving into an academical side or a research part? What do you think?
I mean, for sure, clinical work, 100%. I know that's what I want to do. If there's opportunity for a little sprinkling of research in there and just to help on projects, that'd be cool too. But I think everything in my journey thus far, has been very patient oriented. Even working in like the NHS hospital before I even got anywhere near embryology, I liked the patient facing. I liked that aspect. I liked it's not necessarily like helping people because I think that's quite a cringy and cliche thing to say, but I do like that. I like seeing the outcomes on people's lives, and it does make me feel quite good when things I can help them and I can progress their journey that little bit. Even in lab admin, doing, for example, like donor sperm. Once the donor sperm comes in and I get to email them and say, "Yay, it's here!" Like they then send me a little, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." It's just so nice. That is just such a nice interaction. I don't think there's any other field apart from healthcare that you get that. Um, and yeah, a little bit of research would be fun just to progress the field that I love would be fun as well, but 100% more clinical for me.
Interesting. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think clinical side, for me as well, clinical side is a more interesting side.
Yeah.
I do enjoy doing some kind of research on the side, but I wouldn't think of going fully into research and no clinical work at all. I think same as you.
Yeah.
Right. So also on other side, I think it's safe to say that you have had a big spectrum of experience of doing all these three roles at a clinic. So
Mhm.
you know ins and outs of every different role. So like we talked about previously.
Yeah.
For someone who is looking into starting a new job or someone who is trying to find a new vacancy at a fertility clinic, what tips would you give to that person? What are your, let's say, top two or top three tips that do this, do this, do this? And also, is there anything any kind of mistake or any kind of feedback that you would like to give to this person from the things that you have done. For example, there's something that you have done, but now you think that maybe if I could have done that bit a bit differently, that would have worked much better. So is there any such thing in your
And
experience?
of course, I mean, hindsight is definitely 2020. If I knew this is what I would 100% want to go into when I was 18, I probably wouldn't have done zoology. I would most likely have done a biomedical science or something in that sort of regard. But I don't think you really can make massive mistakes where you can't come back from them. I mean, I think it's all about just building your skills and your CV so that you get a step closer every year. You're a step closer, is what I would say. So, I mean, for embryology specifically, I think lab skills are super important, but it's just as much as it is lab skills, is people skills. You have to like be able to communicate with the patients, with your colleagues, your seniors, and like know how to do that. Because I think that's probably what puts a block on quite a few people is they can't speak to patients and they don't know how to speak to patients. And then that's you can't then be in this job and not know how to do that. So you have to grow in quite a few different angles, all at the same time. So that's why I think my advice would be get get like a tick box basically. So go to uni, get your lab skills, tick. Get a part-time job at, I don't know, a clinic, not necessarily like a fertility clinic, but a patient-facing role, tick. I think even when I was at uni and we had with the COVID like vaccination program going on, I volunteered. I was like, that's another like patient facing. It's got nothing to do with embryology at all, but it's another tick. It's just another, that's what you want to do. You want to be patient facing. Great, tick. That's what I would say. And obviously it's your journey and your journey alone. Push for yourselves. So if you're coming in every day, if you get a job in like a fertility clinic, that's amazing. That's a massive tick. And it's hard to do. But once you're in, it is your journey and it's very easy to just kind of fall into the monotonous of like day to day. You come in, you sit down, do your emails, you do your paperwork, you get up, you go. You need to push for yourself. So you need to, like the seniors, in like my experience anyway, at our clinic, they like it when you show initiative. They like it when you're like, oh, can I help? Can I do anything? Can I, push myself? Like it's so important to also do that. No one's pushing for you. And I think that's a big difference from uni to work life. It's your journey. No one is really gonna not care, but if you don't care for yourself, nobody else is going to care for you. So take it into your own hands and just keep pushing to a point, because there is like, you don't want to be that person that is kind of rude and like sees their work as beneath them, but get your work done, then go help, go do something else, expand. I think that's kind of been my kind of mantra throughout the clinic. Like in admin, I did all my work, and then I'd be like, oh, I'll kind of sit here, I'll look at lab sheets already, so I kind of know what they look like before I get there. And it's important for the seniors to take note of that, because you have to kind of show initiative, is what I would say. And like even in lab admin, I think I got my specialty after a couple months of being there. now it's my specialty, and like I do it nonstop, but it's because I pushed to kind of have a specialty because I was like, I wanted more, got more. Like, I don't know whether that's shooting myself in the foot a bit, but I got more. And now I can do that. Plus, now I'm onto more things. And you have to expand as much as you can. And it's on you to do that, is what I would say.
Yeah, I couldn't agree less. I mean, that's the gist of it, isn't it? If it's
Mm,
your career and you care about your career, you have to do it for yourself. You can't just be doing 9 to 5 job. These are my duties. Done, done, done. That's it. And even if I have more scope to do something, that's not my part of the job, so I won't do it. You have to push yourself to get into somewhere where you want to be. You just can't rely on someone else taking your hand and just pulling
yeah.
you inside your destination or your goal. You have to do it for yourself. I agree to that, definitely. Right, so with different than embryology or different than clinical, whatever we have spoken about, if not embryology, if not fertility clinic, what else would you be doing right now?
So if you asked, I don't know, 2019 Aimee what she would want to do, I would have said conservation. I did zoology. I know that's what I wanted to do for 2 years. And then it all kind of flipped on its head. Um, I think I would probably have stayed. So at the NHS trust that I was in, I was working in pharmacy. I quite liked pharmacy. It wasn't like great. It wasn't something that I like fell in love with, but it was something that I could do. So I would probably be in pharmacy, whether that's me going back to uni to get pharmacy like trained like properly, or whether it would be me doing kind of the apprenticeships that are within pharmacy and be like pharmacy technician or something like that. I would probably have ended up doing something like that. But again, no matter what, I knew that I think as soon as I finished uni, I knew I was going to be patient facing. And yeah, that's probably where I would have ended up most likely. I'm glad I didn't, but I think that's what it would be. What?
Okay. I don't know, honestly, because I started as microbiology. My first degree undergraduate was in microbiology, but that was because I didn't know what else to do. And that was what I saw first thing in front of me after my um, 12th standard, which is the equivalent of, I don't know, 18 exam, 17-year exam here.
Yeah.
But anyways, the schooling, after schooling, you do your first degree, and I saw microbiology as the first one. So I just chose it. But I didn't know what to do in microbiology or what I can do further after that. But later on, I discovered this field. I didn't know embryology exists. I didn't know what fertility clinic do. I didn't know about IVF at all. But somehow through internet, through speaking to someone, I found out about this field and it really picked up my attention. And that's when I started looking into what job roles in embryology
Mm-hmm.
people can offer, and which was IVF, fertility clinic was a part of something in embryology as a broader field. So I started checking out what masters I can do, what else I can do, whether it was in India or whether it's in UK.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that just grabbed my attention, and that just I started doing it later on.
Yeah, of course. I mean, think I think that's like most people. Most people kind of stumble onto it when they're already like within their like undergrads or within their degrees. They kind of just find it and they're like, oh, okay. And then the whole shift happens so that you're so focused on embryology. And of course, one thing that we haven't really mentioned is the STP,
Yeah,
uh,
true.
which is a massive thing in the UK. To become an embryologist, you have to kind of do the STP, or it's the most common pathway, right? That's how you become it, and it can be quite frustrating and very demotivating because it's so limited with the places, and there's so many people that want to do it, but there's just not the capacity for everybody to do it at the same time. So yeah, that would be another thing that I would just tell people to watch out for, that the STP is it's something that you will need to do at some point in your career, but you can build your skills around that and get far without having to do that yet. You will have to always do it, but it's not something that it should limit you, and you should only be focused on getting onto the STP, develop all your skills first as well, because that will only help you.
Yeah, true. And also to our listeners who don't know about STP, STP is a NHS funded, fully funded training program. It's a 3 years program in which you do a part-time master's, and also you get trained into a lab at the same time. So you continue doing your job in the lab, and also you do a part-time master's. It's a 3 years program, and then later on you get a HCPC registration. So then you can become a registered clinical embryologist after the completion. But also, I think, as per my understanding, I think STP is not the only route that you can take to become a clinical embryologist. You can also build your own portfolio by doing procedures.
Yeah.
It takes a bit longer, and because STP is more structured, you just have to complete the modules and the criteria of the course. Whereas doing a portfolio, you are on your own and you have to do everything on your own, and also it takes a bit more time. So I think
Yeah.
that's the difference. People choose STP more, and also it's a fully funded another master's program. So why not? Of course.
Yeah, it's just there's two ways to get in. So you have the direct entry and the indirect. When you're in a clinic, you are pushing for the like not indirect, in service entry. So you're already in a clinic. You just also get put onto the STP, which is what I think most people in our like clinic, that's most people's like want, is to go through the STP within our clinic. But it can be quite disheartening because it's a long process, and there's a lot of people that want to do it, and you do have to, and obviously building a portfolio is another way to do it. It's just there are things in place and the people are all training at different points, so you kind of have to, you're kind of like in a line, in a queue to get to the next training spot. Once somebody's finished with that training, you then can move into that training. And it can be, when you see a long queue, you never want to join the back of it, but you kind of just got to join the back of it and get started, because otherwise you're never going to get
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You just have to start somewhere, and then just you don't start, you don't get anywhere. So you just have to start wherever in the queue. I agree.
exactly.
Right. So last question for you today, Amy. How would you describe embryology in one word?
I think that's quite a big question. But I would say embryology is just constantly evolving. It's never stagnant. It's always moving forward. There are probably like 10 papers being published today about something new in embryology. It's just such a, it's a, I've never known healthcare like it, where it's constantly moving and it's constantly being pushed forward. So, I mean, we had our first, NHS baby in 1978, and now we're how many years? 50 years, maybe ish,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
down, and we're still moving forward. And if you think about it, it kind of got more widespread in the 80s, and then in the 90s, ICSI was a thing, and then in the 2010s, PGT testing took off, and you're still moving forward, and there's still new techniques, and it's something that I think it's a career where you'll never really peak, because there's always something new, which I think is good because it keeps you on your toes, and it's going to keep pushing you to learn. So it's kind of like you're always learning, you're always in some sort of academia where there's always something new, a new paper's come out. Do we need to modify our practice based on the results? And I just think that's quite a cool way to like work, and you'd collaborate with different people and just you'd try and better the system every day by doing different things. And yeah, so evolving is what I would.
Evolving. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of things that we don't know yet, but in maybe in next decade or so or more than that, it may maybe completely change the picture of what we see today. Who knows?
And what the next thing
Exactly, evolving.
is going to
Yes,
be.
definitely.
So it's quite exciting. It's a very exciting field to be a part of, because it's way more in demand now than what it was 20 years ago. So many more people go through it. Unfortunately, obviously, it's not something nice for a patient to need to go through, but we are more in demand than what we've ever been. And I only ever see that growing. I think it's like 1 in every class are now IVF babies, which is quite cool to think that you're part of a community that is helping that, and helping such a massive issue in just like the world at the minute with everything that's going on. But yeah, I just think it's really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the end. I'm sure there are a lot of things more to discuss, but within the given time frame.
Yeah.
Such an interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I'm sure whoever's listening, students or whoever wanted to get into the field or somewhere in between jobs, I'm sure they must have had something to take out from this conversation. And if you have more questions, you can always ask us in the comment box. We are also going to add our LinkedIn handles to the description. If you want, you can ask us directly. And yeah, that's it. On that note, I wish you all the best, Aimee.
Yeah, thanks so much, Devesh, for having me.
It was such an interesting first episode.
I'm very excited.
A good start, definitely. And to everyone else, see you in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
See you later.